Hey, it's Hunt. You found Hunt on Saints. We're talking black and gold football. Do us a favor. Hit the like button, share your comments below, and hit that subscription button so you can get all of our content. Enjoy. Dennis Allen was on the NFL Network last night and had a few things to say about a multitude of topics. He talked about Cam Jordan, which we'll get to later, talked about the Saints' aging roster a little bit later. But I want to start with offense, and we'll start with his comments on scheme fit and the rest of the offensive coaching staff that he's brought in, which is pretty well new in New Orleans.
I feel like this is the best scheme that gives your players the best chance to have success that's going in the National Football League right now. And I think Clint is highly intelligent. He's extremely hard worker. I think we've put together an outstanding staff with a little bit of mixture of some older veteran coaches that have been there, done that, with some younger, progressive mindset type of guys. And I think it's going to be a great mixture for our organization.
I agree with Dennis Allen on all of that. I agree with him on all of that. Y'all know I've been not exactly a huge proponent of Dennis Allen over the last 4 months. But I agree with him on that notion. They have gone out and gone after the most successful scheme in the NFL. Say what you will about Kyle Shanahan's handling of the Super Bowl up 28-3 in Atlanta, or handling of the Super Bowl this past year and what he did or didn't do in overtime and all that kind of stuff. And all that's fine. But if you look at his offenses from September through Christmas, they're good. No matter where he is. They run the ball, they throw the ball, they get playmakers in space. Yeah, the 49ers have more toys than most teams in the NFL, but they're also very well coached. I've told this story a bunch of times. It's actually the last Saints game I went to, was that game in December of 2019 when the Saints and 49ers were essentially playing for the 1 seed in the Superdome. And I was really more concerned with what seed LSU was going to get in the college football playoff, which I found out right before kickoff. But I was in the Dome that day as an interested observer, and what he was dialing up that day was noticeably more creative than most of the stuff that I see in the NFL. Now, the execution level in the NFL is off the charts, but the creativity level is, generally speaking, not always there because NFL players are pretty smart and they're very difficult to get out of position. San Francisco does it. So I agree with everything that Dennis Allen said there. They're going after the most successful system in the NFL. They've got some very young coaches, Clint Kubiak being one of them, but they haven't sold themselves all to 31-year-olds. They've also got some guys who have been around the league a long time who will have the respect of the players in the locker room and can instill some principles that have worked for a very, very long time in the NFL. I agree that the staff that the Saints have put together makes a ton of sense. Does that mean it's going to work? No, but it makes a lot of sense what they've done. The question is, though, you got one guy who's going to get the ball snapped to him to make all this work, and it's Derek Carr, and there are some people that believe that Derek Carr can be a functional quarterback in the NFL, and there are some people that are ready to sail him right on down the Mississippi River. Doesn't matter where you are, it just matters what Dennis Allen thinks, and he was asked how Derek Carr will adjust to a new system here in his second year in New Orleans.
Well, look, I think Derek's going to do exceptionally well. I thought there was a point in time this past season where, we started incorporating a little bit more of the play-action passing game, and I really felt like that's where our offense started to take off. I thought that's where Derek really kind of started to take off. And, it's interesting because I've had communication with Derek throughout this process, and talked to him about some of the different candidates that, we were bringing in. And his brother David had played for Gary in Houston, and that was David's last year in Houston. And I was a little bit concerned that, maybe that wouldn't go over that great. And David had some really good things to say, about the offensive scheme and about how he, really appreciated the scheme and the things that they were doing and really enjoyed playing for Gary and felt like, look, if there's some similarities, which I think there's a ton between Gary and Clint, that it was going to be a great fit. And so I'm really kind of excited about that.
And look, that's all fine. The first part of that bite bugs me a little bit. Said we started to incorporate some of the play action pass. We know how stagnant the Saints offense was. They're among the lowest in terms of motions and shifts in the NFL. He said they were incorporating more of the play action. But what were you doing then? We're not shifting or motioning anybody, and we're not working in the play action. Like, what's the plan? The Saints were so vanilla last year, it's frightening. And when you've got Drew Brees under center, it becomes a little easier to be vanilla because he's always going to make the right play. But when you don't have him, like, you got to do something to make things easier. And that's hopefully what's going to happen. The second piece to that is I've heard a lot of Gary Kubiak. I just care about what Clint Kubiak's going to do, and hopefully that's going to be a very, very positive thing for the Saints. And again, like I said at the first, with the first bite, like, I'm good with Clint Kubiak, but I don't really care about Gary at this point. Allen was then asked, the last question here on the offense was like, okay, do you now have to draft differently because you've got a different offensive system, a different offensive philosophy in the building?
We're in the process of having our February draft meetings with the scouts, with Jeff Ireland, Mickey Loomis, myself. We're in there talking through these guys, and we had a chance to get the offensive coaching staff in here over the weekend and really sit down with the scouts and with the people in the draft room and kind of go through, look, this is what we're looking for at the quarterback position. This is what we're looking for in an offensive tackle. This is what we're looking for at the receiver position. So I think that's been great for our group. And I think we'll have to continue to have those discussions as we go throughout, this draft process, and really not just the draft process, but free agency also.
I hope what they're looking for in a quarterback Derek Carr's got, because he's the quarterback for 2 more years. So I hope that's option number 1 there. But yeah, I do think that you got to do fresh set of offensive eyes in there. And Jeff Ireland's going to call the shots from a drafting perspective. Loomis will be right there, and Dennis Allen will be there as well. You never know exactly who's wielding the biggest stick in that room. I think we all figured it was Sean Payton once upon a time. I don't know that Dennis Allen's got that much credibility in the room. Certainly a lot, but not maybe what Sean Payton may have had. But yeah, I think with a new offensive set of eyes comes a new thought process on who you want to draft on the offensive side of things. The Saints drafted Cam Jordan once upon a time, and he's been a phenomenal player, one of the best in the history of the franchise, and potentially a guy that's going to get a gold jacket one day. But last year was not very productive for Cam Jordan, and Dennis Allen spoke to his former All-Pro defensive end and what he's still got left in the tank.
I think the thing that I would say about Cam, probably where the dip occurred a little bit is just his ability to finish on the quarterback. I think he was still effective in kind of being able to get around the quarterback. He just didn't finish as well on the quarterback. And so I think that's one of the things that we've got to continue to look at and work at. I think he's still one of the better run players in our league at the defensive end position. But look, let's be honest. I mean, as we all get older, we start to slow down a little bit. I don't think he's at that point where I think he's still got some good football left. And I think it's up to us to try to find the positions and the places to put him in to allow him to still be successful, and so the other thing is he injured his ankle at some point in the season. I think it might have been the Minnesota week. And look, he's such a tough competitor that he just battled through and fought through it. But I think it was probably 6 weeks before he started feeling more like himself.
I agree with Dennis on a couple of points there that Cam did show up at times around the quarterback, and that's one thing. And I agree that he's still a solid run player, but I would submit that's a little less important today than it was 15 years ago. You still have to play the run. There's no doubt about it. But you need to rush the passer, and that position on the field has to affect the passer. You can't completely neglect run duties, but you've got to get up the field and impact the passer. That creates teams getting behind the sticks. That creates turnovers. It creates poor decisions, tip balls. Like it just, you have to affect the passer. And Cam didn't really do that very much last year. So it is a big deal, and they need to continue to try to find his replacement. They've got the other side in good hands with Granderson. I don't know what Foskey is ever going to give you, but Cam's less of an asset than he was 2 years ago. I say that with a lot of confidence. So he's part of an aging group of players, whether it's Ramczyk, whether it's Demario Davis, Tyrann Mathieu, even Marcus May, Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara for his position. Like, you've got a lot of guys who are climbing up there in age, and Dennis Allen talked about having older players on this team. The Saints were the oldest roster in the NFL last year.
I think it's a delicate balance, because not only do these players, I'm talking about guys like Cam Jordan, I'm talking about guys like Tyrann Mathieu, I'm talking about guys like Demario Davis. We're speaking specifically on the defensive side of the ball. Look, they can still play. and they can still play at a winnable level. And it's all those other intangibles that they can bring to your football team that don't necessarily always show up on the stat sheet, but they show up in terms of the culture and the way you go about doing things. And so, look, it's a delicate balance, and it's hard because these guys have been such great players for such a long time. That's the challenging part of this business. But as long as they can play and play at a level that allows us to be able to win, then I think they're valuable pieces to our team.
The question is, how long are they valuable? And you just never really know. I would bet Demario Davis has an awesome year next year. Would I be shocked if he was noticeably down a step? No. I still think Tyron's down a step and a half. That's just what it looks like to me. He forced some turnovers late in the year, which was good, but he gets beat to the edge some, not quite as quick as he once was. He's such an instinctive player in his prime that you notice when he's not quite getting to where he used to get. So, and these guys are going to be with the Saints because there's no sense in getting rid of them. There's too much money attached. So they're going to be part of the team, but you do have to wonder, while these guys are some of your best players on defense, while you still have Lattimore, he's certainly in there, and Granderson certainly qualifies, and Adebo and Taylor are young, and you feel like Brazil's coming along, but you're counting on these guys a lot, and at some point, 100% certainty, at some point, they're going to fall off. You're getting closer by the day. You just don't know exactly where it is. I think with a little more certainty where it is with Tyrann Mathieu and Cam Jordan than you do Demario Davis, who's an all-pro at this point. But it's coming, and the Saints have got to get younger. There's no question about that, and I think there will be an emphasis on that in terms of trying to figure out how to get some cheaper and younger players. So, hey, it's on. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.